All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krueg Show with a little 49er video. Check out Pig in a Pickle, best barbecue in all of Northern California. They've got two locations, Corte Madera and Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week in Marin, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or until they run out. And in Emeryville, they're in the Emeryville Public Marketplace, Wednesday through Sunday. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, we continue with our training camp series brought to you by New York Style Italian Sausage. And later in this video, I will give you my sixth favorite New York Style Italian sausage factory or sausage company product. And I'll give you a little hint. This one's not sausage. We'll tell you about it later on in the video. Let's talk about the Niner D line. What a huge offseason for the 49er defensive line. The biggest movement of the offseason was the Niners getting Jayvon Hargrave in free agency and taking him away from their nemesis in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, and planting him next to Eric Armstead in the middle of the Niner defensive line. Now that front has Nick Bosa, Jayvon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, and most likely Drake Jackson to start the year as the number one unit. And if Jackson comes of age, this could be one of the best defensive lines in football. Now, what had to be sacrificed for Hargrave to arrive? Well, the depth at defensive end, where Samson Ebukam is now an Indianapolis Colt, where Jordan Willis is now a Las Vegas Raider, and where Charles Omenihu is now a Kansas City Chief. Those three guys walked away in free agency. The Niners replaced them with Cleveland Farrell, who comes over from the Raiders. In addition, Austin Bryant, who comes over from the Detroit Lions, and they also drafted Robert Beal Jr. out of the University of Georgia. And it's going to be a really interesting defensive line. They're deep at tackle, Hargrave, Armstead. Then you got Kinlaw, you got Givens, T.Y. McGill, Kalia Davis, Marlon Davidson, Spencer Wagee, who can maybe play a little defensive end as well. They're pretty deep at tackle. At defensive end, they're deep, but they're not necessarily guaranteed to be productive. We don't know what Drake Jackson's going to do this year. He looks like he's primed for a bust out year, but until he does it, we really don't know. Cleveland Farrell's got 10 sacks in 4 seasons, so he's proven that he was not worthy of being the 4th pick in the draft the year that he came out, but he's also solid against the run, and God knows the Raiders have had a number of guys who have left there and flourished elsewhere, and maybe Farrell will be the latest. Then there's Kerry Hyder, who's a veteran jack of all trades with an unmatchable motor. He'll play inside, he'll play outside, he plays hard. And then there's Robert Beal Jr., who wears number 33, 5th-round pick out of Georgia. This guy has first-round measurables, 4.4 speed, 80-plus inch wingspan, played at Georgia, except he didn't play a lot at Georgia. Did have a sack in the national championship game. But is Beal going to be a performer? He's a boomer bust kind of guy. So it's a really interesting group. Alex Barrett's here as well, Daryl Johnson. So will they? There's a lot of rumor the 49ers may sign a veteran player in their defensive line edge rusher to help this group. But this defense was the NFL's top defense last year, and they lose only 2 starters. They lose Ebukam and they lose Azeez Al-Shaair. And they add Hargrave, who's just an absolute menace. And he's coming off a career best 11 sack year. And if you look at what he's doing, what he's joining a defensive line that allowed the fewest points in the NFL, or a defense overall, I should say, that allowed the fewest points in the league, 16.3, and the fewest yards in the league. Niners were number 1 defense, both in points and yards last year, allowing only 300.6 yards per game. And there's an all-pro on all levels. Fred Warner, Talanoa Hufanga, you got Bosa, you got Hargrave up front. And Bosa, of course, is the headliner. He's the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He had 18.5 sacks last year, which ranks 2nd in franchise history. He also had 48 hits on the quarterback, the most in the NFL from anybody since 2015. So Bosa's a monster. He's gotten a new deal, or he will get a new deal before camp. And then the Niners ponied up to get Hargrave, and they signed him to a 4-year, $84 million deal because the pass rush had kind of become just kind of middle of the road. They ranked 10th in the NFL in sacks last year. No players besides Bosa had more than 5 sacks. In their final 2 playoff games, the Niners only had 2 sacks. and both at the line of scrimmage. So now you get Hargrave, and you got Bosa, and you get Armstead, and all three of those guys have to be doubled. The Niners now have a fearsome front four. And, if Drake Jackson, who was the top pick in 2022, if he can take that extra weight that he's put on and get to that next level, that could be a real dominating starting front. He had 3 sacks in his rookie year, but he was inactive. He was a healthy scratch in 5 of the last 6 games, including the playoffs. Now, was that him, or was that the uncertainty surrounding the knee of Javon Kinlaw? It's hard to know what exactly is the truth on that front. But Jackson is a big time talent, and there's no question that he's got the ability to get to a totally different level. And let's make no mistake about it, the D line is still the engine that drives the 49ers. And so even though they had Nick Bosa, it was like, hey, they got to upgrade. And getting Jayvon Hargrave from away from the Eagles obviously weakens the Eagles, but it gives the 49ers just another dominating pass rusher. So then they have a dominating pass rusher on the outside in Bosa and a dominating pass rusher on the inside in Hargrave. And if Drake can come on and they can get anything out of their backups, it might be a really, really good defensive line. Now, if Nick Bosa suffers some soft tissue injury and misses 2 or 3 weeks, suddenly it could be Drake Jackson and Kerry Hyder off the edges. And, that's, let's just say this, that's not elite. Is Cleveland Farrell going to find a different level in San Francisco than he found with the Raiders? Probably. Is Robert Beal going to fulfill his potential? He's got a freaky athletic profile. Possibly. Is Austin Bryant going to show that he's a quality, edge rusher, the kind of edge rusher that he showed himself to be at Clemson years ago? That's possible. But if you look really close, to me, the Niners have added a special player in Jayvon Hargrave in his 8th year out of South Carolina State, coming off a year where he had double-digit sacks. That cost them, though. It cost them their depth at defensive end. And now, now they're going to be leaning on Robert Beal. Now they're leaning on Austin Bryant. He had 4 sacks in 4 seasons with the Lions. Now they're leaning on Cleveland Farrell. 4th pick in 2019, but 10 sacks in 4 years. Now they actually need Kerry Hyder to play meaningful snaps. And, he's a good player, but he hasn't had a lot of sacks in recent years. The big question is, can Drake Jackson handle the bigger role after kind of fading a little bit down the stretch last year? I think that's the big question. And the other big question is, can the 49ers go into the free agent market and maybe add one more edge rusher to this group? I'm going to give this group just a B+. On paper, it has potential to be an A or an A-, but I'm going to give it a B+ because as much as I love Hargrave, and now Hargrave, Bosa, and Armstead all on one line, as much as I like that, losing the depth of Ebukam, Amenahue, and Willis on a defensive line with a line coach that loves to rotate his guys, I think Hargrave's going to help their interior rush, but they've lost a little on the edge. And unless they can go sign somebody, I think there's potential for them to be really thin off the edge. And it could be a problem spot if Bosa goes down for any period of time. There are 2 guys to really, really look for this summer who could dramatically change the outcome of this line. One is Kalia Davis, who was a 6th-round pick in 2022 out of Central Florida. And this guy is 200, or, is 6'1", but roughly 320 pounds and fast. And if he's healthy and the knee's right, and this guy can run and, become an interior rusher, think of a combination of DJ Jones and Kevin Givens. I think that's what Kalia Davis reminds me of. He has the talent to take it to the next level. If he does, watch out, because Kalia Davis is a major, major talent. The other name, wild card to watch for in camp, is number 69, Spencer Wagee out of North Dakota State. The hand placement, the speed off the snap, the motor, the toughness, the hustle, This kid is really, really exciting to me. Now, I saw him a couple times. We talked to him before minicamp, and I saw his college film. Um, He's the size of a defensive tackle, but he's got the speed of a defensive end. He's got an identical 10-yard split to Aldon Smith when Smith was coming out of Missouri. Wege also has some really nice kind of technique already. His hand placement. He looks like a natural pass rusher. This guy's really worked on his game, and the motor is there, and the hand usage is there. I love what I've seen in practice. I'm watching this guy going, what? What am I watching? This guy was an undrafted free agent. He's 295 to 300 pounds, and he moves like a defensive end. So I'm telling you, Jackson could be really exciting. Obviously, the headliner's Hargrave. We don't know about Kinlaw either, by the way. Kinlaw could come back healthy and like a man child. He's lost weight. He looks faster. Or that knee could always be a perennial problem and his career could stall out. Almost everything's possible for Jayvon Kinlaw this summer. But Beal's a freaky athlete. Kalia Davis has unbelievable speed. And Spencer Wege is really, really exciting. So wait till you see Wege out of North Dakota State in the preseason. I think there's a chance that if the 49ers do have depth issues at defensive end, that guy could play D end on first and second down opposite Nick Bosa and give the 49ers a huge front and also a front that could be really, really good against the run. Bosa's most underrated trait is how good he is against the run. Hargrave's a pass rusher. Armstead is probably, a little bit of both at this point. But if you could play Wege up front on first and second down, and he could give you a little bit of pass rush and an ability to stop the run, he could be the surprise player this summer in 49er camp. I'm going to give this group a B plus. I love Hargrave, and I love the potential of Wege and Beal and Kalia Davis, but I also can't give him an A, even though there's tremendous depth here, because I'm worried about the loss of Ebukam, the loss of Amenahue, and the loss of Jordan Willis. Those were three really athletic, talented edge rushers, and and they accounted for roughly 700 snaps. That's a lot of snaps to lose in free agency. And I'm not convinced that the guys that they have to replace them are the same caliber player. So that would be my primary concern. All right. And thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage for sponsoring our camp preview profiles of position by position. We'll give a B plus to the Niner defensive line. As far as my sixth favorite New York Style Italian Sausage Company product, I'm going with the raviolis here. The ground beef and cheese ravioli is absolutely outstanding. The quality of the New York style Italian sausage ravioli, I'll put it up there against anybody. It's flavorful. The filling is juicy. It's fantastic. It's a brand new product. Not everybody has tried it yet. If you're in the stores, look for they have a 4 or 5 different flavors, but this is my favorite: the ground beef and cheese ravioli with Italian sausage in there as well. Absolutely outstanding. Check it out. All right, that does it for our video on the 49er D-line. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krueg Show, and thanks to all of you for supporting The Krueg Show on YouTube.